Good evening. This is CloudChartist with your weekly Ichimoku wrap for the week ending December 17th. It is December 16th. It's December 18th, Sunday night. The markets are going to be opening in 16 minutes, so let's see how efficient I can be here. I'm going to start off looking at the ES. ES put in a spinning top doji last week. A spinning top doji. Sorry, I said that really fast. Wow, my neighbor's dog is not barking. That's really weird. It put in a new high at 22.73, and then a very small candle body. You can zoom in even a little bit closer. After last week's extremely bullish candle, it makes sense that we should flag here. I think I said that last week too. So this could be a potential trend change candle. That would need to be confirmed by a lower high and a lower low, so we'll see what happens this week. But definitely some sideways action would be healthy for more upside, and a pullback could be healthy too. Currently, the pullback target would be to the Tenkan-sen at 21.50.75, but I'm sure that's going to open up higher when the new candle opens up, so maybe up at around 21.83, 21.82, something like that is where the Tenkan-sen will be when the new candle opens. We shall see. Overall, this chart is still bullish in all ways, Ichimoku, and is not yet overbought in the RSI category either. So look for the Tenkan-sen if we get a serious pullback. Otherwise, just look for some flagging action for this upcoming week. All right, let's move on to the Russell. Oh, I don't know if you can hear that, but my neighbor's dog just started barking as if on cue. Looking at the Russell, put in a little bit more of a larger red-bodied candle last week after putting in some tweezer tops on the weekly time frame. So we don't yet have a trend of change to the change of trend to the downside, but we could be looking for a potential pullback on the Russell. You can notice that the Tenkan-sen and the Kijun-sen are becoming flatter. When and if they become actually flat, they act as attractive. Flats are attractive in Ichimoku charting, so they could attract price lower. You know, we have this obvious flag prior to this breakup. So this area could act as support also, you know, around 1344, maybe the bottom of this flag area, 1308, let's call it 1307, something like that. So there's potential levels of support to the downside. But as just like the ES, this chart is fully bullish in Ichimoku terms, so there's nothing to suggest anything major as far as downside in the works. We shall see though. Let's look at NASDAQ. NASDAQ has been moving in this large flagging pattern for a while, this sort of range trade, although we do break out of the prior range and make a new higher last week, finally, and then we did put in a bit of a doji spinning, another spinning top doji type candle. So if there is to be a greater pullback, then we would look for a lower high and a lower low. And we will look for support at the Tenkan-sen. Tenkan-sen is currently at 47.60.13, but I'm going to guess it's going to be opening up right maybe around more like 4,800, something like that. So keep an eye on wherever the new Tenkan-sen opens up for support. If you look at the shape of the cloud, you see that we have this dip going into the new year, and then we have a very supportive rising thick cloud going into the first several months of the year. So really, I mean, it's possible that if we did get a major correction, this area here around the beginning of the first week of the year could be a danger zone if we actually got a strong pullback. That would be quite a significant down move. But if we did get a down move down to the 4,300 level, then we could be in danger of losing the cloud because it's so thin right at that area. All right, let's look at the Dow. Dow looking extremely bullish also. In fact, just the nature of the candles here, this is the most bullish looking of all the charts that we've looked at so far. Because we do have a bit of a thicker cloud and sorry, a bit of a thicker candle and a green candle also. But a little bit of flagging action would be healthy here. If we do get a pullback, we can look for the Tenkan to be wherever it should be, a bit higher, maybe around 1900. We shall see. I'm sorry, 19,000. We should see. And we do have a nice, thick, rising supportive cloud going forward for the Dow. So very bullish looking Ichimoku chart here. One thing to note is we are overbought on RSI for the Dow, and that hasn't happened in a while, and that should itself be worked off by some sideways price action. That would be the most healthy. Let's look at crude before we get too far along for those crude traders among us who like to just catch crude and take off. Last week, crude put in a long-legged type spinning top type doji after putting in one of the same last week. So crude still looks bullish. It's over the cloud, over the Tenkan, over the Kijun Sen. The Tenkan and the Kijun Sen are both pointing upwards. So there's nothing to suggest a trend change to the downside so far. So we'll see what happens, and just keep an eye on wherever the new Tenkan Sen opens up. Maybe could open up around 50. We shall see. We still have, if I load my drawings, we still have a gap that needs to be filled up here from back in 2015. We didn't quite hit the bottom of that gap area with this candle. The high was 54.51, and the 54.90 is the beginning of that. So keep an eye on that for, the potential for upside is still great, or we could continue to find resistance. We also have this inverse head and shoulders pattern that I've been discussing for a while. We did put in a close above the neckline. That could trigger move all the way up to 76.72. So that is that pattern has not been invalidated thus far. So keep that in mind. All right. Let's look at some treasuries, shall we? 30-year treasury bond looking extremely bearish still. It's been in oversold territory for a few weeks now. Looking like a small bottoming tail here, but really nothing to suggest that the selling is over offhand on the weekly time frame anyway. If we can just switch to the monthly for a sec. On the monthly time frame, however, the 30-year treasury bond does have support in that the Chikou is coming into the top of this candle here. That happens to be happening at 148. And so we could get a little bit of a bounce here, and it would be important to see if we could possibly hold that 148 level. If not, if not, we could, of course, see more selling down towards the cloud. Even if we did get selling all the way down to 140-ish on the monthly time frame, we'd still be bullish in Ichimoku terms for the 30 years. So just always keep in mind that there is a bigger picture. There's always a bigger picture. But on the weekly time frame, we did find some prior support in this general vicinity way back here in the middle of like late summer of 2015. So that could be a potential support area coming into play again in the event you're looking for a bounce on the treasuries. Let's look at the 10-year. Yeah, ZN put in another quite bearish week last week, and still very oversold. There is some horizontal support that I can't quite load, but back here in the end of 2013, that could come into play. If we look at the monthly real quick on the 10-year, we're actually under the cloud even on the monthly time frame. So we're bearish on the monthly and the weekly time frame on the 10-year. 10-year is just not loving life. All right, let's move on to some metals. Attempt to move on to some metals. 6 minutes left till the market's open. Bear with me for 1 sec. All right. Looking at gold on the weekly time frame, we see that gold put in a second close underneath the weekly cloud, which is quite bearish. If we're going to look for some potential support levels, here are as far as what the Ichimoku asks or provides. Next week, we're going to have the Chikou possibly able to find support at the bottom of the cloud, and that is going to be at, let's see, 1116.40. So that if we do see, that's another $20 lower. So if we do see selling down to that area, keep an eye on that particular level as potentially holding support, because wherever the Chikou found support, you know, price can find support. And then if we do get a reversal to the upside, you know, the cloud is going to act as resistance as soon as we get back up to it. If we get back up to it, in next week's cloud level of resistance to the upside is around 1204. So keep an eye on that level too if you're looking for an upside move on gold. Let's look at silver. Silver's been holding up better than gold and is still holding the weekly cloud. So it's technically went from being bullish because it was over the cloud to being neutral as it put in a candle close inside the cloud. Jeez, I'm not very articulate tonight. I do apologize. We do have the Chikou here coming into support of the cloud, which could be why we did get a little bit bounce off the lows. The Chikou had support at the top of the cloud here at 1606, and also at the Kijun Sen at 15895. Let's see, the low was 15925. So you know, a couple different things, support areas going on here for the Chikou, so that could have been helpful. We didn't come down all the way and test the bottom of the cloud. So next week, the bottom of the cloud for silver is going to be at 15.99. So keep a real close eye on that $16 level if you are looking for silver to bounce here. Let's look at the omnipotent USD/JPY chart. This is, in my opinion, driving in control of the market. As long as the yen stays deflated, you know, metals and bonds don't have a very good chance. So we see that last week we put in a very bullish candle with a bit of a topping tail, and this current candle that just opened up is the new weekly candle. So it's possible that we are going to see a potential for a pullback here. It's in Ichimoku charting, when you get a really strong breakout through the cloud, if there's a lower cloud below, like in this case, the cloud is really stair-stepping down and becoming support at lower levels, it would be really, you would really expect to see a pullback towards the flat cloud below here, especially with such overbought conditions. So I think the potential for a pause in the progress of the dollar-yen is possible this week, but we shall see. Keep an eye on last week's high at 118.66. It's hard to imagine that it did that last week, but I guess maybe the FOMC results were not actually baked in, as everyone said, but we shall see. And let's look at the dollar while we're at it. Dollar still looks extremely bullish in Ichimoku terms. Is getting almost overbought here, which is hard to imagine that it's not totally overbought on the weekly time frame. We did have a bull flag breakout. This was almost like a pullback to breakout pattern in Ichimoku terms. which if you are familiar with my work, you probably know what that is by now. If you don't know what that is and you're interested in finding out, you can just search for pullback to breakout on my YouTube channel and find out more about that particular setup. So, you know, so far the dollar just looks extremely bullish, except for this topping tail here. So we'll see if we can get some mean reversion, a little bit of a pullback back towards the Tenkan Sen on the dollar. Markets are open at this point, so I'm gonna leave it there, and thank you for watching my video. If you're interested in finding out or receiving a notice when my new videos come out, please do subscribe to my YouTube channel. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up if you feel like it. I feel like it was like okay video. I've certainly done better, but it's getting towards the holidays, and I'm got other stuff on my mind. So thanks a lot for joining me, and good luck trading this week. And don't forget, going into the holidays, there's going to be less volume, more possible liquidity issues as we get closer and closer to the holiday. And the week between Christmas and New Year's is always just bad trading, in my opinion. So consider taking some time off or playing it small as we go into the holidays. All right, that's it. Thanks a lot, and catch you next week.